Most coaches think they're selling their time, but they're actually selling specific outcomes. And this thinking alone is what keeps most of them stuck between $30,000 to $50,000 per month. When I tell a coach they should be charging $10,000 to $25,000 or more for something, and they say, but it only takes me an hour or so to do that. Ask them one simple question. How many years did it take you to learn this skill where it actually only takes you X amount of time to do it? I heard Jim Rohn say something years ago that totally changed the game for me. He said, we don't get paid by the hour. We get paid based on the value that we bring to the hour. And that shifted how I charge and how I operate it forever. So think about it from a parenting standpoint. There's this concept called a helicopter parent, which means a parent who's always around their kid and is like, this is my baby. They don't want them to experience anything, which robs them of building resilience, which they're actually going to require. And many coaches do the same thing with their team members and with their business because they see the business as their baby. They disempower the team and they trap themselves as the owner into a high-paying job. And there's one specific belief about hiring that's costing you millions right now without you even knowing it. First, let's talk about the irreplaceable delusion. I also call this the Superman syndrome or Superwoman. So let me break this down real quick. So many coaches operate like this. They're here, right? They're smiling. Everything goes through them. This is their Superman cape with the S in the middle. They got to do everything, right? Everything goes through them. Me. Which leads me to a point. And when you operate with Superman syndrome, here's what happens. Your business stays stuck right around here. Your business is what I call I-me driven, right? I-me driven is where everything goes through you. Everything is like, hey, something needs done, I'll do it. Feel stuck on something, give it to me. Right? So you say things like, well, if it's going to take me this amount of time to train somebody, I might as well just do it myself. This is where your business is me driven. You stay stuck around here, either startup, survival, or potentially stabilization. This is around that 30 to 50K per month mark. I was stuck here for years because I didn't really understand this concept. But once you understand this, then you can actually break through to scale and maybe even succession. I got a whole video that breaks this down even more in detail, but if you want to really dive into this, it's on here on the YouTube channel, so go check that out. And I may even put it in the description section so you can check it out. But for right now, I want to just kind of introduce you and let you know this whole delusion is one of the things that's going to keep you stuck from breaking through past that $30,000 to $50,000 per month mark. You make it to $100,000 per month, but it's going to be super shaky, you're going to be super burnt out, and you're going to be tired, and you're probably going to hate your business. Ask me how I know. So most coaches think they're the only one that can deliver results to their clients. And that's not about standards. It's just about not wanting to let go. And sometimes it's the addiction to be needed. Because some coaches, they get their identity from being needed. So if they're not needed anymore, then who are they going to be? Because their whole identity is wrapped up into being needed, which comes from a worthiness wound that ain't got nothing to do with the business. If you think about it, a lot of entrepreneurs actually become entrepreneurs as a trauma response. So they can actually be seen and they can be validated and they can be affirmed. Those are some wounds that they had from growing up. And this hinders the growth of the business. So here's the truth. When you operate from this place, you're not protecting quality. You're protecting your identity as the indispensable expert. And this shows up as nobody can do it like me, or it's faster if I just do it myself. And sometimes I even hear, well, if I train them and they leave, then what? Here's what I ask. If you don't train them and they stay, then what? But here's what's really happening. You're operating from a mental plane instead of building systems from a physical plane. This belief doesn't make you valuable. It makes you a bottleneck that captures business at whatever level you can personally handle. Here's the perfect example I always like to use. The greatest scaling expert of all times is Jesus. And what's the first thing that Jesus did when he stepped out into his public ministry? He went and built the team, like immediately. And what did he tell them? Follow me. Watch me do it, then you'll do it, and then we'll discuss. And even in scripture later on, he says, it's important that I actually leave so you can actually do greater works than I did. So Jesus knew this principle of scale and multiplication at a high level, and we see what's happened thousands of years later. So God told us in the Bible, it's not good that man be alone. This is why we have to have people are provision. Sometimes people think that finances and so forth are provision, but people are also a provision that's necessary to get our mission to the point where it deserves to be and the level that we're called to. So there are three planes you operate from: physical, mental, and the highest level is spiritual. Most coaches get this backwards. They focus on the physical plane, and that's doing more tasks, when the real leverage is in the mental and the spiritual planes. So in the mental plane, this is where you shift your identity from the doer to the systems builder. In the spiritual plane, this is when you're operating from abundance versus scarcity. This is the highest form of creation, and when you step into your God likeness, where you create and you know that everything works together for your good and you're not vibrating from fear. Because when you vibrate from fear, you create anxiety and anxiousness. Therefore, you end up attracting that, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you create this as a culture throughout your team. And now you find yourself in hustle and grind mode, which isn't spiritual by any stretch of the imagination. If you look at nature, nature's a perfect example of this. Nothing in nature hustles and grinds. lines. Everything operates from provision. I was talking to a client one day and she was sharing the win with me. And she was like, this is going good, this is going good, everything's going good, this is what happened, this is what happened. I was like, all right, excellent. And she was like, but things are just growing slow. And I was like, instantly I felt the Holy Spirit just told me to ask her, hey, do trees grow fast or do trees grow slow? And she was like, well, they grow slow. And I was like, trees don't grow fast or grow slow. Trees just grow. And anytime I ask people that, sometimes people argue with me, sometimes people say, it's like, well, trees don't grow fast or slow because they aren't comparing, right? So a lot of times when we're operating from the lowest plane, we're comparing, we're hustling, we're grinding, we're toiling, we're looking at IG, we're judging ourselves, we're living in the past. And we're more acquainted with the past version of ourselves than the future version of ourselves. And then mentally, we're drawn back down here versus being drawn in to the spiritual plane. So if you feel like you gotta hustle and grind and you have to do everything yourself, you're out of alignment because nothing great is ever built alone. So when you operate from the spiritual plane and you understand that scale is simply multiplication and duplication, you can trust that others will deliver value as well. So in the physical plane, this is where effort lives. And you can get results to make a lot of money there, but it's the least leveraged. Now when you step into the mental and in the spiritual, this is where elevation happens. And this is the path to true freedom. Most coaches are stuck doing $20 per hour work when they should be focused on $10,000 per hour CEO activities. At minimum, $1,000 per hour activities. If you're hearing this and you're realizing your business isn't capped by your market or your offer, but by your belief that you have to do everything, that's exactly the problem we solve inside the Strategic Scale Advisory Board. We help coaches and consultants build business that can run and grow without them. And our goal is simple inside the advisory board. To help coaches get to $1 million a year in annual profit, and then use that profit to invest into long-term wealth that continues to compound without them. If you're ready to stop being your business's most expensive employee, hit the link below and you can get more information about our Strategic Scale Advisory Board. When you get this, you shift from you being the business where you're here in the middle and then everything is pointing to you. Marketing, sales, delivery, finance, everything is pointing through you. You make the shift over here to systems driven and systems driving the business, marketing, sales, finance, delivery, and then you live up here over the system that's driving the business. And this is where true freedom lives in a business that can run and grow without you. And you can take a 30-day vacation and the business still runs and grows without you, and nobody's waiting on you when you get back. And when you do get back, you can just jump right back into flow and enjoy the process and focus on the parts of business that energize and excite you versus drain you. You didn't start your business to work 60+ hour weeks, but here you are. The goal is to remove yourself from as much of the day-to-day operations as possible so you can focus on strategy and growth. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't do fulfillment, you don't work with clients, and those are the things you enjoy. Because I know at one point we scaled so fast and so big, I removed myself from a lot of the coaching, and that was the stuff that I really enjoyed. However, I get the focus there because I enjoy the clients that we work with. But I don't have to be in the weeds of everything and managing everything. So we want to build systems for client delivery, sales processes, marketing and demand generation, and building a self-managed team. I don't know about you, but I don't like management, especially not micromanaging people. When you're operationally strained with team and delivery bottlenecks, it's because you haven't made the shift we're talking about in this video. So some generic business advice that can be very, very dangerous is just delegate. Before we delegate something, you want to ask a simple question. And you want to walk through this framework every single time. Here's what that means. The first question is, what can we eliminate? Because sometimes we're doing stuff in the business that we just always done it this way. So it served us at one point, but it might not serve you no more. But we're still doing the thing, or people on your team are still doing the thing that you hired them for, but it's just not necessary anymore. And it can be eliminated. Now, the second question is what can be automated? Like, what are you doing right now as a leader? What are your team members doing that they're doing manually that can be automated? Maybe AI can do it, maybe it's some kind of tool, maybe it's a Zap, who knows? But this can be automated. And then after we go through that process, we want to ask ourselves, what can be transferred to a person? Because maybe at this point, you freed up some bandwidth with your team members because you've helped them eliminate some stuff, you've helped them automate some stuff, so now they got some bandwidth where you can transfer some stuff to them. And if you don't have anyone, now we can look at hiring somebody. But a lot of times, as a default, we go straight into hiring people. And sometimes we hire people because we want to create some more freedom, but this person we hire needs managers. So now you find yourself managing the person who you're paying to do the thing that you don't enjoy doing. And that's going to cut into your profit, and it's going to cut into your free time, and it's going to cut into your peace. And I made this mistake for years. We scaled our business, had a big bloated team. We had 40-some people on our team because I didn't have this particular framework. Now we have a lean and mean team that's totally self-managed. So the question isn't how do I do more? It's how do I build systems that work without me? This is where your business goes from me driven to IP driven. This is where you're unpacking that knowledge and expertise and you turn it into systems and assets and processes and frameworks coaches. Because most coaches operate from a standpoint of all their information is tribal knowledge, where everything is in their head and they're wondering why their team can't perform the way they want. And they wonder why they hire people who can't do what they're supposed to do because they don't have a systemized approach to onboarding them and getting them profitable. So you want your business to be an asset that runs without you, not a job that owns you. And this requires you making the shift from founder-driven to systems-driven. The end goal is having a predictable client acquisition system with team handling the majority of delivery while you focus on vision and doing the work that energizes and excites you. And this is how you scale without burning out or sacrificing quality. Remember, you're not hiring people to replace you, you're hiring people to multiply you. And there's a difference between being needed and being valuable. So quick recap, the I'm irreplaceable belief keeps you trapped in the physical plane doing low leverage work. The shift to systems thinking and strategic hiring happens first in the mental and the spiritual plane. Now, some people think they're hiring, but they're still in the physical plane, and they are doing some hiring, but they're focused just on task and not leverage. And you know this because they're hiring people and don't even have systems to onboard them into. And I asked the founder, like, hey, what's your training process with your hire? And they'll look at me like, what do you mean training process? They don't understand that you got to actually have an actual curriculum and training process that you're onboarding somebody to and walking them through. And when they don't have this is when they slip back into micromanagement versus multiplication. Your expertise becomes more valuable when it's systemized and scalable, not when it's trapped in your head. True freedom comes from building a business that runs without you. And that's the difference between having a business you own and a business that owns you. Look, you didn't start your business to work 60+ hour weeks, but yet here you are. We help coaches and consultants who are already making $20,000 to $100,000 plus per month build the exact systems I just walked you through, so you now have a business that can run and grow without you. We're not here to convince you, we're here to help you execute. If this resonates with where you are in your business, check the link below and you can find out more about our strategic scale advisory board. And if you want to see the next piece of the puzzle, watch this video on how to make your life insanely simple in 3 months. I break down the exact weekly ritual that doubles your free time while growing your profit.